moment of judgment would soon become a lesson in true power and dignity. Emily Roberts lived between two worlds, a deliberate choice that defined her existence. To casual observers, she appeared remarkably ordinary, a woman in her mid-30s with a part-time job at a local community center, dressed in understated clothing that revealed nothing of her true circumstances. What most didn't know was that her husband, David Roberts, was one of the most influential CEOs in the country. But Emily's simplicity wasn't about hiding. It was a profound statement of purpose. While other wealthy wives navigated social circles and charity galas, she chose impact over appearance. Her work with community programs spoke louder than any designer label or expensive accessory. Every day, she walked a careful line, connected to immense wealth, yet committed to understanding the struggles of those far removed from such privilege. Today's lunch at the upscale restaurant wasn't just a meal. It was another chapter in her quiet mission of understanding, of bridging worlds that rarely intersected. The restaurant existed as more than a mere physical space. It was a microcosm of unspoken social hierarchies. Frank Williams, the owner, had built his reputation not just on the quality of his cuisine, but on his ability to curate an environment of exclusive refinement. Frank approached Emily's table with the precision of a predator. Each step, a choreographed display of social gatekeeping. His expensive Italian loafers clicked against the marble floor, a rhythmic declaration of ownership and authority. "This section," he began, his voice a carefully modulated instrument of exclusion, "is reserved for our more discerning clientele." The word discerning hung in the air, a euphemism so transparent it was almost comical. The maitre d' watched with practiced neutrality, a human barometer measuring the rising tension. "I have a reservation," Emily responded. Not a plea, but a statement. Her voice carried the quiet confidence of someone who understood power dynamics far more deeply than Frank could comprehend. Frank's laugh was a weapon, sharp, intentional, designed to humiliate. Reservation? For what exactly? Nearby diners shifted uncomfortably. Some looked away embarrassed, others watched with growing unease. "Community center outreach programs," Emily said, her voice steady. Frank moved closer, his expensive cologne becoming a form of psychological warfare. "This establishment isn't typically used for such discussions." The subtext was crystal clear. "You don't belong here." But Emily was not someone who could be easily dismissed. Her years working with marginalized communities had constructed a resilience that went far beyond mere resistance. "The reservation," she repeated, "is under Roberts." A microscopic shift occurred. Something flickered in Frank's eyes. A momentary recognition, quickly masked by pride. The restaurant held its collective breath. Silverware suspended mid-air. Conversations evaporated. Emily didn't move, didn't argue. Her very stillness became an act of profound resistance. The moment David Roberts entered the restaurant, time seemed to stand still. His presence was more than physical. It was a force that recalibrated the entire room's energy. Unlike the dramatic entrances of typical CEOs, David moved with a quiet, deliberate grace that spoke of genuine power. Frank's confident posture began to crumble. The man who moments ago had been so certain in his control now looked like a child caught in an impossible moment. "I believe," David said softly, his voice carrying without raising in volume, "my wife was in the middle of her meeting." The diners watched, transfixed. This wasn't just a confrontation. It was a lesson in dignity. David turned to the maitre d', his tone calm but absolute. "I'd like you to bring my wife a menu, and I'd like our host," he looked directly at Frank, "to be the one to serve her." The request hung in the air, not a suggestion, but a directive that would reshape the entire dynamic of the restaurant. "Frank Williams," David announced, "owner of this establishment. Let me introduce you to the consequences of your actions." He pulled out a folder, crisp and pristine. "Your restaurant has violated equal employment and service regulations no less than 17 times in the past 3 years," David said. "I've been investigating for months." The restaurant fell into horrified silence. "The Department of Civil Rights will be most interested in these documented instances of discrimination," David continued. "I'm not just going to expose you, I'm going to dismantle everything you've built." He turned to the other diners. "This establishment has systematically discriminated against employees and customers of color, not just today, for years." A woman at a nearby table stood up, her voice trembling. "I work in HR. He will serve me," Emily said quietly, her voice carrying the strength that needed no volume. Frank's hands shook as he approached with a menu, each step a public deconstruction of his own power. "The daily special," Emily said. "By the end of today," David announced, "this restaurant will be under new management, my management, and every single employee who has been discriminated against will be offered a position with full back pay and compensation." Some diners cheered. Others looked shocked. Frank stood broken, a monument to his own systemic failures. The aftermath reverberated far beyond the restaurant's walls. What began as a moment of potential humiliation transformed into a catalyst for broader social reflection. The restaurant, now renamed Second Chance, became more than just a dining establishment. It became a living testament to the possibility of genuine transformation. Under David's leadership, it implemented comprehensive training programs focused on diversity, inclusion, and unconscious bias. Emily continued her community work with renewed purpose. Frank Williams, humbled and transformed, eventually approached Emily with a proposal to collaborate on community outreach programs. As Emily often said, dignity isn't something you earn, it's something you recognize in every human being. Their story spread not as a tale of victory, but as a blueprint for how individual moments can spark broader societal transformation, a testament to the power of seeing beyond surface appearances, of choosing understanding over judgment, of recognizing our shared humanity.